Hello, Karen Butler here with Game Changers Childcare Training and Business Development. Today, we're doing a training on SIDS, Sudden Infant Death Syndrome. SIDS, along with sudden unexplained infant death, which includes sudden death for kids syndrome, usually affects children under the age of 1 year. So all children under the age of 1 year are somehow affected by SIDS. The cause is not obvious. It's very random. It's sporadic. It's unexplained. No one has actually pinpointed the issue. Cause is not obvious. This occurs while infants are sleeping. Majority of the time that there is a experience of SIDS, it is during the time an infant is sleeping. So we've covered the fact that the infant is under the age of 1, and it occurs during the time that the infant is sleeping. And it's a category that's under sudden unexplained infant death, which is SUDS, SUIDS. So under SUDS, sudden unexplained infant death, the category comes SIDS, sudden infant death. So the number one reason under sudden unexplained infant death is SIDS. It is the number one cause of unexplained mortality rate in infants. So we have to be aware of that. The AAP, which is the American Association for Pediatrics, kind of developed or did a research study and found that certain things would decrease the risk. And we're going to talk about those things today because that's what we want. We want to know how to prevent it. That's what this training is about. Guys, get your papers and pencils together. Let's go. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys really quick here, and we're going to get started. So again, welcome to Game Changers Childcare Training and Development. We have been in the business for over 33 years with childcare development and training. We offer various training videos, training courses. We come to your location and train with you along with your staff. We do administration training. We do director training. We just a whole 360 for your entire daycare needs in terms of training, setup, startup. We teach you how to get started in daycare. We teach you how to go from a daycare home to a daycare center. So we are the childcare experts, and all things childcare pertain to us. So I wanted to say welcome, welcome, welcome. On this particular video, we are discussing sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. One of the things we talked about was the AAP, American Association of Pediatrics. Now, these guys have done all kind of tests to exactly find out what is going on. Why are we losing children at an increasingly rate to sudden infant death? Why? What's happening? So as the American Association of Pediatrics explains it, certain things need to take place when dealing with infants and their sleep, because the pinpoint problem has been targeted during a time of rest or sleep. So we want to take notes, and we want to delve into those aspects when it pertains to safety and health of the infant that you're caring for, that's in your care. So the first thing is bedding. The very first thing we want to make sure is that our bedding, whether it's crib, a playpen, or a actual bassinet, we want to make sure that it's CPCS guidelines. We want to make sure that it's standard CPSC guidelines. You can look up CPSC guideline standards on the mattress tag. So it will tell you on the tag if it's CPSC standard guidelines. So you always want to keep that tag intact, and you want to keep that tag on the bed at all times. The second thing we're going to say for this is that nesting is prohibited. We're talking about the bedding of an infant. So we want to first check and see that the CPSC standards on the mattress tag are met. We want to leave the tag intact, and nesting is prohibited. So let's talk about nesting. Nesting and swaddling are the same thing. So when you swaddle a baby and you cover the baby up and the cover wraps the baby really, really tight, they're swaddled and nested. This is prohibited. Any form of incapacitability for the infant is very, very, very restricted. So we do not want to do this. We do not want to restrict the flow and the energy of the child while the child is sleeping. So it is undeniably prohibited. Nesting, prohibited. So make sure you do not purchase any nesting blankets or any nesting clothing for your child that you're caring for. And if parents bring that in, if you're in daycare center and parents bring that in, I would just simply send it back home and let them know that according to the CPSC standards, we are not allowed to use them. Another thing we're going to look at is the original mattress. This is all a part of the bedding. You want to make sure that the original mattress tag is still intact. It's very important not to cut that off, especially if you own a daycare center or a group home. State licensing is going to come and check and make sure that you are following CPSC standards for your crib in your center or group home or at home. According to the AAP, blankets, pillows, crib bumpers, toys, bottles, pacifiers are unnecessary and very dangerous. So we do not want to have any bottles. We do not want to have any blankets. So let's talk about those things. If it's cold in the winter months, we know it can get very cold. Make sure your onesie is sufficient enough. You do not want to put a blanket anywhere near your infant. Pacifiers. And if we look here in our picture, we see an infant on their back with a pacifier. And that's purposely done. He looks harmless. He looks like he's sleeping. He has a little passy there. I am saying nothing. No passy, no bottles, nothing. So make sure that when you lay the infant down and their bedding, we're talking about bedding, there's no blankets, there's no pillows. Pillows can suffocate, blankets can cover. Children can roll over on pillows and it covers their nose, and then you have a situation. Crib bumpers have mostly, for the majority of everything, have been taken off the market. People really, when they bring a child home, they want to decorate the room, but crib bumpers are notorious for SIDS, for sudden infant death. So you definitely do not want to use any crib bumpers in your bed. Toys, bottles, blankets. We talked about those things. Nothing. To ensure safe sleeping environment for your child, make sure that the crib or playpen or bed is free of everything. Now, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the ABCs. To ensure safe sleeping, we're going to talk about what I like to call the ABCs of SIDS. The ABCs is alone, back, crib. Alone, back, crib, the ABCs. Those three things we remember, we are great. So alone, you always want to make sure that your infant is in the bed alone, not in the room alone, in the bed alone. We would prefer for the child or infants to always be in the company of an adult, even when sleeping. So if you're privately at home, you will want to move the crib into the room with you. And if you're at daycares and home daycares, you already know there's someone all the time in the rooms with infants. So it's a great time right now to talk about the 15-minute check, which could and should be practiced at home as well as your centers. The 15-minute check is basically simple. Setting a timer, whether you use your cell phone, whether you use a kitchen timer, every 15 to 20 minutes, you want to go and place your hand on the back of your infant, especially at the ages from 0 to 1 year. You want to place your hand every 15 minutes on the back of your infant just to make sure they are breathing good. It is always important, especially if you had an infant that has some type of complications, and even if you have infants that don't have complications, it is extremely important to know infant CPR at all times, especially with this rate going high. So if you own a daycare center, group home, everyone that's working with your infants should know CPR. Each state has their different requirements for that. However, personally, for myself, everyone in my infant room, everyone that works part-time, full-time, or any degree in my infant room has to know CPR. So let's move along. We talk with A, being alone. We need the infant to always be alone while they're sleeping in that crib. B, back. B, back. We always want the infant to be placed on their backs. Now let's discuss this. A lot of infants love tummy time. We give infants tummy time, but it's never, ever recommended to put your child to sleep and put them on their stomach while they're sleeping. Suffocation can occur. Their first faces can get buried. Turning them over on their back and allowing them to sleep on their back frees up that airway for their noses and their mouths, so there's no experiences. And we don't want any type of experiences with SIDS. So when you have an infant, your infant is asleep, place that infant on their back at all times. There's no exception to this. A lot of times in working with infants, I've seen this and I have to discuss it. Infants will roll. They will turn over. So if you're in a daycare, especially, and you have an infant that's continuing to roll, I would place on their crib that they are a roller. Just letting everyone know that no matter how many times you place the infant on their back, they're going to roll. Still continue to place them on their back. And those are the ones, all of them, you want to check every 15 minutes, every 15 to 20 minutes. Just a small light hand on their back, just to make sure everything is working how we need it to work. Crib is the C. We discussed A, alone, B, back, C, crib. So crib we talked about. We want to make sure there's no things in the crib, no toys, pacifiers, bottles, no blankets, no pillows, nothing while this child is in this crib. Just a flat sheet on the bottom, fitted sheet, and that's it. We're going to talk about overheating. We want to make sure the infant stays at a great temperature rate where the infant is not overheating at all. We want to make sure that we sleep in the room with the infant, not in the same bed, but we want to make sure that we sleep in the same room as the infant. Now, we talked about the Back to Sleep campaign, and we're going to just go with a quick review. Sudden infant death syndrome occurs without warning. Again, this occurs without any warning. The leading cause in the infant's death, infants between the ages of 1 month and 1 year. So between that age, you have to be extremely cautious, and you will definitely want to follow the guidelines for the AAP. Infants placed on stomach to sleep increases twofold the risk of SIDS. So guys, you see why it's important. Definitely do not ever place a child on their stomach. You want to always place the child on their back to reduce the risk. Reducing the risk. Reducing the risk, the incidence of SIDS have fallen 50% by placing infants on their back. So this is extremely important. We definitely want to maintain that huge, huge number. I'm so proud of that 50% reduction rate, and we want to be a part of that. So we want to make sure the most important thing is that we always place the infants on their back. So let's discuss risk factors again. While the cause of SIDS remain a mystery, researchers have identified key components, such as avoiding unnecessary bedding, placing the children always on their back. Infants should always be sleeping alone and never with their parents or pets. A lot of times we allow infants to sleep with pets. We'll put the infant right on the sofa and let them nap. No, you always want to place the infant in their crib on their back at all times. Choose the right crib. You want to make sure that your mattress original tag is CPSC standards, and it will tell you on the tag of the mattress of your crib. Prevent overheating. You want to make sure that, we're using onesies now. So you want to make sure that you don't have an overheating onesie on your infant. Your temperature range and your infant's temperature range is going to be totally different. So just make sure you prevent overheating. Sharing rooms. You always want to share a room with your infant, but not a bed. Air quality is extremely important when dealing with infants. You want to make sure that your environment stay um, very clean. You want to make sure there's no smoking in the house and there's no smoking around infants at all. No CPR. CPR is going to save the life of an infant that does um, stop breathing and that's in your care. If you know CPR, this is going to help you. So make sure you get pediatrics and infant CPR, not just regular CPR. It's a certain CPR for infants. So you want to have infant CPR training. And again, frequent checks. Every 15 to 20 minutes, you want to place your hand on the back of the infant and just make sure the breathing's okay. And at the same time that you're placing your hand on the back of the infant, you want to check the airways for the nose and you want to check the mouth as well, just to make sure there's nothing covering that. So guys, this is our training for SIDS. I hope we covered everything that needs to be covered. And in fact, I know we did. We did a little extra. And now we're going to have a review. You can click on your review and then take your exam. At the end of this course, you will be receiving a certification of your training that will be emailed to you. So guys, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to check out our other online courses online at www.gamechangers.expert. Have a wonderful day.